development. I don't know what day or what episode of staying consistent in the midst of chaos this is. And, it's even questionable if it can even be an episode at this point. But let's talk about it. I don't know how this video will be titled, if I'm going to, keep putting out the episodes, but here I am to give an update. So today is 29th of April. Today's 29th of April, and I have been staying consistent. I can tell you that much. I have been staying consistent with my main pursuits. So apart from me documenting my journey, I did stay consistent in the midst of chaos, and it was pretty chaotic. Since the last time I recorded a video, I had another one flight and changed another maybe 3 or 4 accommodations, and have had other obstacles. Some of them may be a bit too private to discuss here, but I did stay consistent, and most importantly, I did meet my deadline. The 28th, that's yesterday, I launched a couple of days prior to that, but on the 28th, I started putting out the lessons for my existential bootcamp. So I did launch it on time. The response has been great, and I'm now putting out the lessons. It's extremely exciting. It's been exciting. It's been stressful as it always has to be when preparing a project, but I did meet my deadline, so I'm extremely happy about it, and I'm putting out the lessons. I don't know if I said this in one of the previous videos, but I'm putting out lessons in 3 formats. Every single lesson is released in 3 different versions. So one is the full version, that's 15-20 minutes. The medium version is anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes, and the mini version, that's 2 minutes, so that I can ensure that everyone, no matter how much they struggle with their attention, and no matter how busy they are, they can watch the lesson, depending on what version of the lesson they can watch, take either the full philosophy, psychology, and the practical aspect, or maybe shortened version of the explanation and the actionable steps, or mini version just straight to the actionable steps, and keep going, keep showing up for themselves, keep showing up for the Existential Bootcamp. And because Existential Bootcamp is about them, showing up for the Existential Bootcamp is showing up for themselves. So extremely exciting, extremely feeling satisfying. However, a failure, I have to acknowledge it as a failure, has been my inability to document the journey that I promised to you that I will be documenting. So let me put it like this. I stayed consistent with my writing. I stayed consistent with my main project at the time, which is Existential Bootcamp. I stayed somewhat consistent with my daily practices. I have been consistent with my meditating. I've been consistent with my training. I've been eating terribly, skipping meals and things like that. So I haven't been consistent with that, but with the things that at the moment matter to me the most, I have been consistent with or consistent in. However, documenting the journey was the thing that suffered. So I have to acknowledge that. I have to say that that's one thing where I failed to be consistent. However, I'm going to make something out of it. And here's the thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to share an insight with you. Insight that I've shared many times, but I guess it was a time for me to relearn the lesson that I learned before. While I was, in the process of creating Existential Bootcamp, some of you have read a essay that I wrote, and essay that I wrote regarding therapy and existential humanistic view on therapy, and where I offered to do free consultations with people in the midst of already chaos and having a major project. I opened my calendar for free one-on-one consultations, which is an insane move. In retrospect, I cannot understand how I agreed with myself on that idea. I like to say, watch out for manic creativity. I'm not trying to pathologize, but manic creativity is a real thing. For some of us, we get this rush, we get this wave of excitement and enthusiasm when we get a new idea. And it's really hard to contain yourself. I've been really good at containing myself for a long time, but this time I failed because it's something that I do want to do. I want to work more intimately with people, and I wanted to give as many people as possible the opportunity to have a free consultation with me. And I've had some incredible calls with some incredible humans, but it took a toll on my schedule because I was quite literally from 7 a.m. until 12 p.m. in front of the laptop, writing my regular writing, existential bootcamp, writing and creating, doing the admin stuff, preparing the promotional stuff, and having multiple calls per day with people that have such interesting stories where I'm exhausted after the call in the best sense possible, but I'm exhausted after every single one of those calls. So insane decision, but I acknowledged, maybe it was time for me to relearn the immensely important lesson that you have to take a pause when you are overwhelmed with excitement. When you have a new idea, you have to take pause and assess it a bit more strategically, realistically. And this wasn't even, sometimes many creativity leads you to jump on ideas that really aren't relevant, ideas that shouldn't even be entertained. This time it was an idea that I'm going to go back to. And I mean, I'm still taking calls, but I've because so many people booked, so it's going to take a while to go through all of those bookings. But I've stopped accepting new bookings, and I'm going to return to working with people pretty soon. But I had to draw a line and remind myself what the main project is at the moment. So yeah, sometimes this surge of enthusiasm leads you to jump on ideas that are completely relevant, that you need to cut off once and for all and not entertain them anymore. Sometimes you need to acknowledge, yeah, this is aligned with my values, aligned with who I am, who I want to become, but I cannot take on this right now at this moment. Sometimes you have to wait a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months, sometimes maybe a couple of years to approach that idea with proper intensity and with proper resources, time, energy, creative capacity, money. But yeah, that's a big lesson, big insight that I want to share with you. Again, for me, it was a relearning experience. I'm just going to take it that it had to happen. There is a dose of shame that I didn't keep documenting on a daily basis. Definitely dose of shame related to it. So the best thing that I can pull out of it is to share the insight with you and to be an example. This time to be a cautionary story. And I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that as something valuable that I can offer. I can offer valuable insight through my mistake. So it's going to reduce not regret, but yeah, let's be real. Those of shame related to the fact that I didn't manage to document my journey daily. But yeah, that's one of the main things. Another thing that I would mention is I had these amazing calls, and one person he said he watches my YouTube videos, so maybe he will recognize himself in this story. One person told me something along the lines of, "David, you're really consistent." No, he said, talking about himself, he said, "I've been consistent, but not as much as you." And I had to stop him. I had to interrupt him and say, "Sorry, but the context of his life is that he has a kid, he has a partner, he has a life that looks way differently than mine. I also have commitments in my life. I have people that I'm committed to, but I have to be transparent and say that I'm physically far away from, currently at this moment, from all of the people that I have a emotional commitment and responsibility towards." What does that mean? That means, yes, everything that I'm doing in my life, I'm doing for them. But on a daily basis, at this moment right now, on a daily basis, I'm not required to help them out physically. So that leaves me with a lot of time. I mean, that leaves me with all my waking hours to do with them what I want. That's why I can start my working day at 7 a.m. and finish it at 12 p.m. and just do my own thing. Yes, that is for my people, but I have to be open and say I for the last months I haven't had to deal with let's say regular people stuff. A couple of months before that I've had to, because I was with a loved one staying, and had to live a more normal human experience. Then last year I also spent some time with my family and was spending multiple hours per day. But I, to go back to the story, I had to put the things into perspective for this impressive man and tell him that it's unfair. It's unfair for him to say, I'm consistent, but not as much as you, David. That's an unfair comparison, because we don't have the same responsibilities, same obligations. So why am I sharing this? Because I want you to be fair to yourself. Always look at your story, look at the context of your story. If you're going to make comparisons, then find a person who has the absolute same context of their life story. And guess what? You will find no one. So I'm not saying for us to relativize. What's the expression? To relativize, yeah, something like that. Relativism, and say that there is nothing better, nothing worse, and nothing more impressive. And no, I'm not saying that. There are other aspects in life where we can talk about winners and losers, and first place and second place, third place, things of that sort. But when it comes to these things, friends, please, let's not make these comparisons, because they are always irrelevant. And even if it's just a moment, like this person also maybe wanted to compliment me in that way, even if it's a moment, don't do it. I don't want you to do it, because I have a habit of doing it, and I've been on a journey of unlearning that habit. Because why would I can give a straightforward compliment to someone, but that doesn't have to be at the expense of me. I can joke about myself, I can joke about my physical appearance, my other shortcomings, but not to do it not to give compliments to others at my own expense and downplay my achievements. So for every single one of you that is making an effort to show up for themselves, to show up for the things that they want and need to show up in their life, that's the victory. You're making an effort to show up. That's the victory. There is no comparison. Don't look at my routine. Now that I mentioned 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., please don't now think I'm implying that you should be doing that. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying hard and I'm working hard, but also I get to work hard. I get to spend all of those hours working. I get to make an effort with that volume and intensity. So that's probably the main thing, apart from not jumping into multiple projects at a time. The main thing that I want to share is to be fair. Please be fair. Look at life as a story, because your life is a story. Look at the context of your life story, so that you can assess fairly how it's been going, how you've been doing. Not to give yourself excuses, again, to be more fair towards yourself. And when you start looking at the full context of your story, then you're even more engaged in your story, you're more engaged in your life, you're developing a stronger connection with yourself. So it's a win-win-win-win situation. Please, it's amazing to look at others, to look at other people who inspire you in some way. It's amazing, but always know that there is context behind it, and give yourself the credit you deserve. Be fair to yourself. Don't put others on pedestal, and keep showing up. That's it, friends. As I said, I've been showing up. I'm there. Those of you who consume my material here just on YouTube, I'm really sorry that I went on this break, but yeah, I've been showing up for things that mattered more. Although I will admit that I made that mistake in taking on another project. I cannot regret, because of the amazing conversations that I've had, but yeah, it wasn't the most strategically sound decision. That's it, friends. Keep showing up for yourself. I will keep showing up. Stay strong, love life, and never, never feel sorry for yourself. Thank you.